Marshall Stamper, Tahric Finn. Tahric today, he's cosplaying as a purple belt. Don't be fooled. This man has been a brown belt for over a year now. Did you know you passed your brown belt anniversary?
Oh.
Facebook reminded me.
Nice. That was a very memorable day.
Memorable day and a long year.
Yeah, it was a long year. Yeah.
We're here today talking all things UFC. Big UFC this weekend, UFC 296. And the UFC put on a great jiu-jitsu event last weekend. We're going to recap it, say some pros and cons. That is, some things great, some things can do better. It's called UFC Fight Pass Invitational 5.
Yeah,
what do you think of that name? Catchy name?
It's a horrible name. It's a horrible name. UFC Fight Pass Invitational 5. That's a lot of syllables, but
It's a lot to say.
it's a good show. It was a good show. UFC does the best production. I think that's they have the talent, but I think the main thing that sets the UFC apart from the other leagues or productions is just their level of production, their lighting, how clean everything looks. I mean, Bellator, even Strikeforce had some guys that came in and became champions in the UFC, but Strikeforce, first of all, that name sounds
Not good?
I don't like it. It sounds like a cartoon. But so the production is just not as good as the UFC. To me, that's the main thing that sets them apart. ONE FC does a pretty good job. It just doesn't have that bright pop that the UFC does.
And part of the reason for that, ONE FC, a lot of their events are to half-filled stadiums. And so they have to play with the lighting a lot to show that the arenas are not empty.
I think they should just hold it in smaller venues.
Well, they want iconic Muay Thai Lumpini Stadium.
Yeah.
They're in a tricky situation with that.
Yeah.
But the UFC, it did look beautiful. They had all the competitors had to wear long sleeve black rash guards, which I thought looked nice until a guy's on his back and they're all entangled and arms just disappear. You can tell whose arm is whose, and so a lot of the very tricky, intricate details of jiu-jitsu are kind of lost. And so I don't know what to do about that. Maybe stripes, because they try to, red and blue like the UFC always does. Black rash guard with a red stripe. I don't know.
There's a lot. There's a lot of play you could do with rash guards. So you could do a lot with rash guards.
Yeah.
The UFC that's coming up this weekend, very exciting.
296.
UFC 296. Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington.
It's a juicy fight.
Juicy, but very
Leon
juicy
Edwards, one of the best kickboxers in the UFC. Colby Covington, one of the best cardio wrestling machines in the UFC. How do you see this going, man? What do you think?
My prediction for the Leon versus Colby, I predict Leon takes it. I think Colby is a cardio machine.
Absolutely.
I think that there is a possibility that Leon could gas out.
Oh, really?
In the fight.
Has he gassed before?
I think he looked I think in the first Usman fight, he gassed.
Okay.
He was gassing. Like that fight was in the bag before that head kick. So I think it looked like he was kind of gassing. He had lost his will to go on before that iconic speech from his coach. And I don't think that's likely with Colby.
Yeah.
But Colby has been off for a long time, and Leon showed something in the second Usman fight. Actually, this would be a third Usman fight.
Right.
In the last Usman fight, where it was just complete domination of Usman, and it was a different Leon.
Yeah.
I think that the role of champ might have changed him. I think he's just risen to a better fighter. I'm only judging it based on one fight, but Colby being off for almost 2 years, I don't think he's been sitting on the couch for 2 years.
No.
I'm sure he's been training hard, but I'm giving that one to Leon. What about you?
Is any part of that some Jamaican bias on your part?
It is, yes. It is some Jamaican bias on my part. Some Jamaican bias on my part, yes, for sure. Absolutely.
I actually agree. Leon Edwards, he's such like a soft-spoken, kind of like unassuming guy. And he just looks so good in that last Kamaru Usman fight. Teddy Atlas says there's a 30% championship boost in your abilities. I don't know how true that is, but it definitely looked like it. He kind of dominated.
Yeah,
He appears to be in his groove. You know, if he's healthy, he is a huge unbeaten streak. But you know, that wrestling, man, wrestling's tough to deal with sometimes.
The wrestling is tough to deal with. He seemed to deal with it pretty well with Usman.
Yeah.
And Usman is on Colby's level for sure with the wrestling. So he seemed to manage it. He didn't, like I said, he didn't manage it that well in the first match.
Yeah.
He was getting beat up. But he did have a takedown in the first match. It was a nice trip.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Lost my mind.
End of the first round.
First guy to ever take down Kamaru Usman was a kickboxer.
And it was just, it was such a beautiful trip and landed right on top of him. So he has it in him. And we are seeing more of Europeans and Brits coming up with better wrestling. This was like a known thing for this region of the world, that if you want a good wrestler, they got to come from the U.S. or Russia.
Yeah.
And the Europeans just didn't have it, but things
it's
are
not in their schools.
Yeah, things are late. Yeah, things are evening out a bit more. Yeah, it's definitely more an ingrained thing in the U.S. Kids are wrestling from elementary school up through college.
Yeah.
It doesn't really exist in a lot of places. Russia has the Sambo, which is why you're seeing Russian domination basically throughout almost every division. If you see a Russian Muslim enter a fight, then put all your money on that guy.
Which I think is Shavkat Rakhmonov. Is he qualifying? He's Kazakh.
I think so.
Is that Sambo?
I think Kazakh, and I'm going to speak out of school here. I think it might have been a former Soviet bloc.
If not, it's close.
Let me see.
He's an Asian-looking man
Yes.
that I think speaks Russian.
Yes.
Or Kazakh? Is that different? I don't really know. But he's a terrifying, highly skilled guy fighting Wonderboy Thompson, fan favorite. Everybody loves Wonderboy, karate master, in his 40s now, still looking good, but young Shavkat probably gonna dominate.
Yes, and I love that name, Shavkat
good.
Rakhmonov.
So good.
Rakhmonov. There was a boxer, Haisam Rida. I always like that name.
It's good.
Rakhmon. It's a hard sounding name. That's like
Rakhmon.
the boss in a video game. Yeah, Shavkat Rakhmonov. He's also on a 17 fight streak. He's undefeated. I think he takes Wonderboy out. Wonderboy is getting up there in age.
He's old.
He's still amazing. He's got great kicks, but is he going to be able to handle the pressure that Shavkat can put on him? I predict not. If Wonderboy does win, it would be early knockout. That would be my.
He can always do. Real karate master.
He's very capable. But I would say Shavkat, and then Tony Ferguson from your school.
10th Planet Costa Mesa originally, same place that I was training at. I didn't see Tony when I was at 10th Planet Costa Mesa, but his energy was still in the building. He's just a wild man, trains nonstop. He's been recently training with David Goggins. David Goggins famous for working out nonstop every moment of his life. He runs miles in his sleep. And
pushing willpower.
A lot of people have reached out to David Goggins over the years for training, and David Goggins puts him through what he calls Hell Week, and he says Tony Ferguson is the first person to ever do it, first person to ever complete it. They're doing lunges for 2 miles at a time and all sorts of other madness. This is a controversial training strategy. Some people say you should be training fighting for a fight. So Tony might come in with injuries that we don't know about, or he comes in with just the hardest mindset ever, and that's able to put him through against young Paddy Pimblett.
Paddy the Batty.
He's quite a character himself.
He's
very
a
funny
character.
man.
High energy. I will say that Paddy,
great accent.
He does take damage in some of his fights.
And Tony gives damage.
Yeah, he's a very high energy fighter. He's back and forth. He's very exciting to watch. Very exciting to watch him walk out with all his dancing, and even the way he talks, he's kind of, you could tell he's a star in the making. If he's just if he can get a belt, he would be a big money machine, almost like the second coming of Conor, but not quite.
Yeah.
He's not quite Conor.
He's not a dominant fighter like Conor was.
Yeah, he's not as dominant as, because he does get down, he gets knocked down, and then comes back with usually like some kind of spectacular knockouts. He has submissions.
Judo throws.
Yes, he has judo throws. He's pretty famous for getting really fat in between fights,
Yeah.
which I think it's eventually going to weigh on him. He'll eventually have to move up from lightweight, I think. I saw him a few days ago. He looked slim. He looks good in like athletic when he's slim, but does he blow up in between fights, which is, I don't think it's the key to longevity in this game. Cutting weight, cutting a lot of weight. I don't know, but he is exciting. He's 20-3, so he's doing quite well. He's on the way up, and I think Tony is on his way down. I don't know if this will be Tony's last fight.
Could be.
Yeah. Every time I'm not really super excited when I hear Ferguson announced for a fight anymore.
Yeah. The last couple ones are brutal.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was a time when he was one of my favorite fighters. I thought he is next up for the belt. I was really hoping to see that Khabib fight before he injured himself at the press conference. Really, very unfortunate how like a moment like that can change everything.
Yeah, never got that fight.
Yeah,
Prime Tony against Prime Khabib was in the works for years. They're trying to make it happen.
Yeah.
Never happened. And then Tony started losing. He started losing really badly. It's tough.
Yes, so which almost goes to speak on how genius Khabib is for retiring when he did.
Absolutely.
He even said, if I keep fighting, why am I going to keep fighting? If I keep fighting, I'm going to lose. Yeah. So, which is true. You can only win until you lose, right?
Everybody loses.
Yeah, everybody loses if they go long enough. Yeah, I would predict Paddy. Paddy takes Tony.
Oof.
What do you think? What do you think?
I don't want to think about it. It's too tough.
All right.
I just hope Tony's okay.
Yes,
I hope he survives.
I hope he is.
I hope he stops fighting soon.
I predict for both of us, Paddy wins that match. Josh Emmett versus Bryce Mitchell. I don't know very much.
This is a good one.
I don't know
where.
Did they add this?
Short notice. This is incredibly
short
notice.
They just added this, right?
Yeah. So it's supposed to be Josh Emmett and what do I say the guy's name? Giga Chikadze. A very tough match. Giga pulled out. They called up Bryce Mitchell. Very short notice. Bryce Mitchell, thug nasty. One of the only guys to pull off a twister in the UFC. And Bryce Mitchell, he had a funny quote about it. He said he was up a ladder 20 feet in the air with power drills. And if you're on a ladder with power drills, you feel like you can do anything. So the UFC called him and said, "You want to fight?" And he's like, "Absolutely." So he took the fight. Very short notice. Josh Emmett, he's been in the game a long time. Thug nasty, he's on the way up. He's had some stumbles, looks great, and then loses. So it's a good fight. Very, very interesting fight.
What do you have? Do you have any predictions for that? I don't really know.
It's too chaotic to predict. It could go in any direction. Who knows what kind of shape Thug Nasty's in. I guess he's in good shape. He's out there building barns.
Yeah, I don't know.
Very
enough,
hard to say.
I don't know enough to make a prediction for that.
He's a full-time farmer.
Yeah. Now the Vicente Luque fight versus Ian Garry, that's off. Ian Garry had
that's a big
pneumonia, a flu that became pneumonia. Yeah. It would be good because Ian Garry's on his way up, undefeated, 13-0.
Yeah. Speaking about young Conor McGregor's, man, that guy might be the one.
Yes.
All his fights are sensational.
He is kind of taking on a heel position. In the last fight against Neil Magny, he was talking a lot of smack to Neil Magny, which is strange because Neil Magny is kind of universally loved by everybody.
Yeah, nice legend.
Yeah. So, I've never heard anybody really just going after Neil Magny. He's
after the fight too.
Yeah, he's a hard guy to not like, but I guess Garry was trying to promote himself. It kind of backfired. There was some talk about him being afraid to go to the press conference, which is crazy to me that this talk that any fighter is afraid to do something when their whole job is doing something that everybody's afraid to do. It's a ridiculous concept to me.
Well, Ian Garry, he had a lot of controversy recently, but I don't quite know the story. Do you know? Something about his girl and
something like his wife, who is older than him, wrote a, I don't know, it was a blog or wrote a book about how to kind of trap a rich man. And she also, it's also, he changed his name to Ian Machado Garry to take on her name. So they share the same name. That's part of
her name's Machado?
Yes, her last name's Machado. So they're the Machado Garys, which I kind of understand. I mean, they're trying to the kids have both of their names. It's a very modern idea.
And it's very it's a fighting name. Like the Machados are like legendary in jiu-jitsu. Yeah. So I was had that in my mind, it's a nickname and he's trying to be like Jean-Jacques Machado.
No, he took on her name. So in the manly world of fighting, he's gonna get clowned for sure. So I think the idea was this press conference, the clowning was to begin. He also was training at the same gym at one point as Leon Edwards, but I think his training, he kind of floats around.
We have floating around. We hung up a blanket over here so I don't have to burn in the sun.
To block the sun, but it looks like it's gonna fly away. Well, I think it's gonna hold. At least one string will hold. Yeah.
Should we take that clip off so it stops making noise? What do you think?
I think you're okay. I think we're okay.
We're okay?
Yeah, we're okay.
We'll get through this, folks.
Yeah, we'll get through it.
We'll get a little sunburn.
There was that. There was just the thing with his wife. What else? Oh, also, I think his nutritionist is his wife's ex-husband.
I see.
Yeah, so it's kind of there's a lot of things that other fighters could easily clown him on, which is, it's kind of funny.
That's another thing from the press conference. The press conference was this morning, maybe it's still happening right now, but Colby Covington came out and said, who had sex with Ian Garry's wife, and the whole crowd cheered.
Yeah, so some good controversy, which makes the whole fighting thing exciting. I didn't know about the Ian Garry thing. I was doing it in a lesson yesterday, and a student, he asked me if I had heard about what was going on. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And he mentioned some of it. So I just went and looked up what the big deal is. What's all the fuss about? So that's it.
He's a great fighter.
The idea that he's afraid to show up. I mean, I believe he has pneumonia. I don't believe he's just not showing up because he's scared. To me, that idea is ridiculous.
Can you get so scared that you catch pneumonia?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Get so stressed, your immune system collapses.
Yes. And George St Pierre once pointed out, I think this came up when, what was it? I don't know if it was about John Jones, or I can't remember who he was talking about. Somebody was talking about a fighter being scared, and GSP just said, of course, they're scared. Everybody's scared. He said being scared is not a factor in this sport. Everybody goes in scared. The point is, did you train and can you perform when it's time to perform? Because everybody is scared. It's a scary job. I wouldn't want to do this for a living.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're going through that in a small level here in Taipei. We had some boys over here training with us yesterday. We're all competing tomorrow in Taipei. AZ Fight Club, live stream on YouTube. Yes,
Marshall is competing. We had Jay here. We had Sebastian here.
That's co-main, main event, and opening match.
Yes.
And it was kind of a running joke, like, how you feel? Like, you nervous? Yes. It's like everybody's dealing with this, and so we can only imagine UFC fighters, it's that times a million. I don't know. So much money on the line, so much more ego on the line.
Everything is the same except for the money, except for the punches to the face, except for the millions watching.
The emotions are relatable.
Phil says, Machado, his wife's name is from her ex-husband. No way, that can't be.
Is that true?
I don't know.
Ian took His,
If her name is her ex-husband's name, and then he
Ian
took that
it?
name, that would be.
I see.
That would be.
That's
interesting.
material for clowning.
Yes.
I see.
Material for clowning for sure.
All right. Thanks for doing the research, Phil. You have sources?
I have no source. Just trust me, bro, is the source. My favorite source. I overheard it. And Fight Pass Invitational.
Pretty fun event, man. When's the last time we watched a whole entire jiu-jitsu event?
Almost never. Almost never.
I saw every match except for the main event. I saw the spoilers on Instagram, so I didn't see the whole event.
Yeah.
The whole match. But it was fun, man. It was fun.
I loved it. Like, I don't know, jiu-jitsu, like I said, it was interesting, to say the least. First of all, as I mentioned before, the production was top-notch.
It looked good.
But the UFC is also, they've been trying out different rule sets to try to make the fights more exciting.
Yeah.
At the last one, they didn't do any points, but they did EBI Invitational Overtime. So I said EBI Invitational, that's Invitational 2 times.
Yeah.
Eddie Bravo Invitational Overtime rules, which is if the fight ends up with no submission, it's submission only. If the fight ends up with no submission, they do a overtime, which is almost like a shootout in soccer. And each side has a choice. So for my shot, I can choose whether I want to start off on Marshall's back or I want to start off in the armbar position, which is called the spider web. I'll show.
Yeah, which one do you choose?
I like the back. So you start off like this. This is the spider web. Hand, so armbar almost locked in, one hand down, and go. And then we fight to see how fast Marshall gets out of position or how fast I submit him.
I get out so fast.
Right? I can choose. So I can choose armbar or I can choose back. I take his back, I have 2 hooks in, and I have this, what is the seatbelt position. And then same thing, we time how fast Marshall gets out or how fast I submit him. If we both get out, if we both escape, then we time, or we go by time to see who escapes faster. If one person submits, then that guy wins. Is that right? Yeah. If one person submits, that guy wins.
Yeah.
And
like,
if both of us submit, then we time to see who is the fastest submission. That's the soccer shootout. Now, the reason why they may have changed it for this event is that because you have generally an 8-minute or 10-minute round before that, a lot of guys will be very conservative in their actual match.
They'll stall.
Because they know that they've been training for this EBI overtime position.
Yeah.
So if all of your training or a lot of your training has been on this EBI overtime position, it would be to your advantage to make it to that part of the match. In order to erase that, they got rid of it this time. And the rule set was kind of very interesting. Something I've never seen before.
It's pretty wild.
It was very wild.
Yeah.
So if you've ever watched ADCC, the rules are a little bit hard to understand as well. But for this one, what they did was during regulation time, so they have 8-minute matches or 10-minute matches. During regulation time, all it was is if you are perceived to be stalling by the ref, he gives you a penalty.
And he was very quick.
Very aggressive with the penalty.
Like
and
10, 15 seconds in.
I loved it.
That's crazy.
I loved it. So if I'm in a mounted position or if I'm on your back and I'm not immediately trying to finish the choke, then penalty. 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 You on the bottom, you're not trying to escape. You're just sitting on the bottom. Like if I'm in side mount and the guy is really attacking me and the ref feels like I'm just defending and not trying to escape, penalty, penalty, penalty. And I actually liked it. And to keep it consistent, they used the same ref for the whole event. Because I could see how this could go awry if you had multiple refs
And I saw how it got a little awry with using the same ref because he got more trigger happy in some matches.
Yeah, he was.
He gets tired. It's like a hard event.
Yeah, there were some matches where he handed them out faster. But I did like
working like 3-4 hours.
Yeah. I loved how fast he was handing them out. It was almost funny.
Yeah. There's one funny moment, and Nicky Rod had Yuri Simones in full mount, and the ref docked Yuri Simones 1 point. Says, too many penalties, 1 point lost. And Nicky Rod looks at him and goes, penalty from bottom mount? And Yuri Simones goes, shut up.
Yeah, he was like that thing where you call to the ref, like, come on, ref, do your thing. Before Pena versus Margali was the main event. So let's see. Originally GSP. Legends. GSP was originally supposed to be in this. I didn't know this was a serious thing until they until they had a discussion about it live, or where they said that, oh, you were supposed to be in this, but injured, which I didn't know it was really going to happen. I was excited to see GSP grapple.
Yeah, I think that's a great way for UFC fighters to stay active, stay competing.
Yes.
The dangers are much lower. This one, the biggest danger was falling off the mat because it's an elevated thing.
Yeah, I don't know about this. The elevated mat. Once they did have one of them did fall off. We'll get to that. But yeah, it's weird. Like
it's weird.
But I do like it gives it kind of a blood sport look to it.
But if guys are wrestling, they start moving, and immediately it's like, you're too close, center.
Yeah.
Too close, center. Yeah. And there were some weird scrambling to the side, and the ref tries to stop them and move them back in the same position. Always a little argument. Hey, you didn't have that grip. I had an underhook.
If you've ever been to a jiu-jitsu tournament or competed in jiu-jitsu, whenever the referee restarts you, it's hardly ever the same position. One guy's submission will be a little bit more locked in than it was before. So restarts are tricky.
Yeah, and some guys take advantage of that, and they'll some guys upgrade their position.
Yes, so, it happens. It happens a lot.
All the time.
What was I saying? Gordon Ryan also got sidelined, rib injury. So he was actually supposed to be the main event, fighting Mason Fowler.
Oh yeah.
But which I really wanted to see.
That'd be a cool match.
But that didn't happen, so Ryan instead was one of the commentators.
Which I really liked. I actually learned a lot.
Yeah.
Listening to him like, oh, you should have his knee higher. Oh, you should be that. Oh, you should do that. And I was wondering if the guys could hear him, because like
it's very small.
It's a very small place, and he was sitting not far away, so it was almost like he was coaching, like unintentionally.
Yeah. What he should do is put his arm under here.
Yeah.
Sometimes
he gets his opponent's shoulder up, and he did it.
So like I said, it's 8-minute regulation, 4-minute overtime if there was no submission. But when you go into overtime, you carry all the penalties with you.
So you can't score points in regulation, but you can lose points.
You can lose points, and then if no additional points are lost in overtime, you could lose based on your penalties. Which means that there were matches where guys that were spent the time in a dominant position could potentially lose.
Yeah.
If you were mounted and on his back the whole time, but the ref felt you were not attacking enough, you lose.
This happened to Andy Varela, first match of the night. 10th Planet legend, one of the most exciting guys in the game. I never thought he would lose a point for stalling. I don't see how it's quite justified, but in his match, he dominated Achilles Rocha, took him down, mounted him, took his back, threatened, lost a point somewhere in there, and then ended up losing the match in overtime, which was funny.
Yeah.
I think it's funny.
The ref was named John Romero. That was his name.
What's up with that guy?
Handing out penalties like candy. I liked it though.
Yeah.
I did like it because because the EBI thing, you could game it. You could, and
a lot of guys have.
There's nothing
penalty.
anybody can do if you want to stall the whole match.
Yeah.
And wait for the overtime.
It's true.
And it's conceivably possible if you are very good at defense. It's not unthinkable that I can stall you out for 10 minutes or even just turtle or get into very defensive positions for 10 minutes just to get on your back.
Yeah.
Which I think, was it Gordon Ryan? I can't remember whether it was Gordon Ryan or Nicky Rod that said they did not like I think it might have been Nicky Ryan, in an interview. He said he didn't like the EBI thing. Somebody, I don't remember who it was. He didn't like it just because it's not, they're basically, nobody gets to my back. So I don't think it's it's not realistic. It's not, it's a huge disadvantage. It's not really it doesn't really show how well-rounded a person's jiu-jitsu game is if you just start them in a position, especially if they're bad at defending that position, or if it's a position that they never find themselves in because they never get their back taken.
Sounds like Nicky Ryan.
Yeah.
Could be Gordon as well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So that you mentioned the Andy Varela versus Achilles Rocha, son of Vagner Rocha. Rocha? 17 years old.
Yeah, it's wild.
17
so
years
many
old.
Killer young kids.
17 years old. It went into overtime as well. Actually, you know what? It ended with a mount. That's why. So stall. He got the stalling penalty, and it ended up being, I think, 6 to -1 at the end because Rocha did get a mount.
In overtime, yeah.
Yeah. In the women's bantamweight, 130 pounds, there was Amanda Maza versus Hanna Goldy, and they finished, both of the women's matches ended in regulation time because they went after it.
Yeah.
Won by armbar from the triangle position. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Amanda Mazda versus Hanna Goldy. I can't remember who won. I think it was the way that I wrote it.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
One of them hit a great armbar. Props to her.
Yes. Match number 3, welterweights, Cristian Guzman versus Aaron Wilson. So Aaron Wilson gets some stalling points taken, and then he finished with an armbar from a mounted triangle setup. This was beautiful. He mounted the triangle, and then he went with a belly down armbar. Everything was so tight. It was like, you're dead here, dead here. It was very dominant victory with 28 seconds remaining in regulation time. And I don't remember if he was down on points at that point. I think he was down on points. He was down on points. And then the middleweights, you had Vagner Rocha versus Victor Silveria. So Vagner
Legends,
Rocha.
man. Old man legends.
Yes. Vagner Rocha was ahead. And it was kind of a rough fight. Like a lot of hand fighting, a lot of like near slaps with the head grabs. Like it would be like head grab, hard head grab.
Yeah, this is pretty common in competitive jiu-jitsu these days.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to hit your partner or your opponent, but you are allowed to snap the back of their head.
Yes.
It's a very thin line.
And in this one, they said there was one more thing where you are not allowed to slam your opponent because there was a slam warning at one point, but you are allowed to slam your opponent to escape a submission.
Yeah. So if you pick him up from a takedown, you have to set him down nicely. But if he grabs your neck in a guillotine, you can slam him down.
Yeah. Or if he triangles you, like that's the most common slam.
Yeah.
Like a guy goes for a triangle and you slam him to escape the triangle.
There was a funny moment in this match where Gordon Ryan on commentary was saying how he was training with Vagner not too long ago. And Vagner mid-match looks at him and goes, "I'm doing the passing you showed me. Yeah. I'm doing it."
Yeah, because Gordon before that he mentions he's like, "Oh, it looks like he's doing the pass that we trained together a couple months ago and we worked on this and it looks as if he's trying to do that." And then Vagner said, "Well, I'm doing the one you're doing," or something like that.
Mid-match talking.
Yeah, but he finished it, belly down, rear naked choke. One of the worst positions you could be in all of fighting. Well, you don't want to be belly
all
down
of life.
with somebody on top of your back.
No, nothing you can do.
Yeah.
There's no escape. There's no offense.
Super submissive position. But yeah, he had him down, belly down, stretched out, and he got the choke in. And the next girls' match, women's match, Luisa Montero versus Elisabeth Clay. Clay is known for her leg locks. She's young. I think she's like 21. It ends up turning into a leg lock shootout where they're just going back and forth for leg locks, which speaks to what we were talking about last time about leg locks being overrated. Which the last I think the last IBJJF, it washes that away.
Yeah, so the IBJJF No-Gi Worlds, they instituted recently heel hook rules. You're allowed to do heel hooks now, and became the most dominant submission of the event. But I think over time that will level out. And what our takeaway was from our heel hooks overrated was that they're risky. If you initiate a leg lock attack, you have about a 50% chance of being leg locked yourself.
It is risky.
It's risky.
Also, I think in IBJJF, you have more traditional guys in there, which I think leg locks are going to be foreign to a good portion of them.
Yeah.
Even some of the guys that are in your tournament this weekend, one of them I spoke to, also unfamiliar with heel hooks,
Who?
and I'm not gonna say it.
Name them.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you off camera. But
someone doesn't know leg locks.
he basically said if I get caught in a heel hook, I might have a problem.
I see. I know.
Yeah. So not everybody knows all about them. It takes a little while to get familiar with them, and it takes a little while to get familiar with defending them. Also, yeah, when you attack the heel hook, you put your other leg in danger of heel hooking. So these girls, they had a heel hooking shootout, and in the end, Elisabeth Clay won by heel hook, it was pretty exciting. I do love to see these heel hook shootouts.
So dangerous.
It's very dangerous, but so exciting. Fight number 6, match number 6, Nicky Ryan. This is Gordon Ryan's little brother.
It's pretty wild. There's some emotional tension in the room. Gordon seeing Nicky. They had a big fallout from when Danaher squad tried to live in Puerto Rico. Now they both live in Austin, and they're not connected. They don't train together anymore. They don't talk together anymore.
So Craig Jones, Nicky Ryan, Gordon Ryan, Nicky Rod, they were all together as one squad. Imagine how powerful that is.
Danaher Death Squad.
Yes, they were all together as one squad. And apparently there was some kind of squabble. It seems like...
You know what it was?
I don't know. As the best I know, it sounds like it was between Gordon and his brother. Yeah. It was between Gordon and Nicky Ryan. And because of them not being able to get along, everybody had to choose sides and decide who to go with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Nicky Ryan is on the come up. He had to overcome. I remember he had talked about a bad knee injury, maybe about a year ago when he was on the Lex Friedman show. So maybe that's better by now. He wasn't wearing a leg brace or anything, but he looked pretty good in the match.
But Jonnatas Gracie looked better.
Yes.
Got some sweet takedowns. I think kind of dominated. And Nicky Ryan is coming back soon. Very excited. I hope I can go see him in Costa Mesa in February. He has a match against Mika Galval. Mika Galval, high flyer, jumping all around. Nicky Ryan, a little more measured, a little more tactical. Should be great. I'm very much looking forward to that.
Victor Hugo versus Daniel Manasoiu.
Big Dan.
This is the match where they got thrown out. Where Victor Hugo, he gets tossed out off of the edge of the mat. Going in on a takedown. Actually, it was just pushed. Yeah, he just got pushed off. And this was after he was already looked like he had hurt his leg on the edge of the stage.
Yeah, he was screaming.
That. Yeah,
it's weird. Screaming about a leg.
Two big fellas. Yeah, he screamed and then he kept going. In the end, he was able to pull it off. I think I'm gonna call him Daniel because I'm not sure how to say Manasoiu.
Big Dan.
Yeah, I'm gonna call him Big Dan. What it looked like to me at the end of it was just that Big Dan gassed out because he gets mounted, which is fair, but the Americana, he didn't look like he was fighting it very much, and it was slapped on pretty fast. I mean, it was
very rare to see an Americana finish. It's not such a high percentage submission,
especially from mount. Americana from mount it's not a super high percentage position. You could usually bump bump guys off, but I think Dan was tired. It would be my guess. He didn't try to straighten his arm. There was no fight. I didn't see any more fire in his eyes. And Americana, Victor Hugo wins and calls out Gordon Ryan. And then the match I was looking forward to
Started a streak of people calling out Gordon Ryan.
Yes. The match I was most looking forward to was Mason Fowler versus Haisam Rida.
Fantastic.
Called it last week that I thought Fowler would win this. I think Haisam has a bright future, but maybe just a little bit too green against guys like Fowler. I think maybe a few more years with the B team, we're going to see some great things from Rida, but that time is not yet, especially not against a guy like Mason Fowler. What do you think of that match?
Oh, it was fantastic. Mason Fowler, the strategy to hand fight him and tire him out, and then took him down, and I forgot what happened then. But he won. Oh yes, yeah, a nice Kimura.
Yes,
Mason Fowler, known for rubber guard and some wacky submissions, but this one he played it pretty straight, took him down, and then north-south to Kimura.
It was a hard,
beautiful.
It was a hard Kimura. You could see Rida holding his shoulder after, like it was just one of those.
He was hurt a little bit.
Yeah, he was a little bit hurt, and Fowler then says he wants Gordon Ryan when he's healthy. Funny thing is, him and Gordon Ryan, they seem very friendly with each other.
Yeah, respectful.
None of the trash talking you would expect from Gordon Ryan. He seems like like they love each other, or maybe they've trained together.
Respect each other.
Nicky Rod versus Yuri Simones, another one that I was looking forward to. Yuri also, during the match, when Nicky Rod was on top of him, Nicky Rod on top of him for most of the match, but down on points, based on this strange penalty system. Nicky Rod is down on points throughout the match, although he's dominating.
Yeah, see, at one point he sat down. He thought it was okay if you're touching your partner to sit down in a seated guard. Usually that's how it works. But in this rule set, it's I think they say you have to pull him directly into an advantageous position. Yeah,
you have to pull him.
The way I'm pulling rubber guard tomorrow on Bo Yu. Watch it. And
no, even that is not allowed. I think they
it's straight into offense. It's
okay. They basically say yes. You have to be pulled into a submission attempt. Yeah.
And it wasn't like that, so he got -1 almost immediately. He protests the ref, but what are you gonna do?
Too bad.
Yeah.
And also Yuri calls out that he thinks that Nicky Rod is greased during the match.
He's slippery. Which is something that Gordon Ryan has been on the record for.
Yes.
He says Nicky Rod does this strategically.
Yeah.
Maybe. So he says the solution is long sleeve rash guards and spats. I don't know. Maybe.
You can't sweat in those. You can't sweat your way out of locks. But I guess if greasing is a concern, that would be the easiest solution.
Yeah, I wonder what's the difference between like greasing and good skincare. Do you lotion your arms? What do you do?
Yeah, lotion.
Yeah.
Not so much in the summer, but yeah, I do because my skin gets dry. Is that cheating? Is that cheating?
I personally put coconut oil on my body every day because I love it.
That's
cheating.
Yeah. That's
so well, I don't do it for the advantage, but out of respect for my partners, knowing this is a thing, I will compete tomorrow in spats and long sleeve. Because even for me, man, I was trying to heel hook a guy the other day, and I'm like slipping out.
Yeah.
This isn't good for me either.
You're too slippery.
Yeah.
You're too moisturized.
Too moisturized.
Yeah.
So who knows what Nicky Rod's doing? Maybe just take care of his skin. Maybe he's actually greasing. It's an age-old technique. There's a lot of ways to do it. Don't know. Maybe.
And the main match, Filipe Pena versus Nicholas Margali, snooze fest. This was the worst match of the whole thing. Respect to both of these guys.
These incredible athletes.
Respect to these incredible athletes, but it was not an entertaining match. I'm glad that, it just wasn't good. Like from the beginning, even the first match, all the matches all the way through, they stayed competitive. The ref calling out penalty, kept them moving. But Pena versus Margali, I guess they're both kind of conservative fighters. Pena likes to play guard and recover guard a lot, which is not so exciting for a spectator. If you're a guard player on your own, this is interesting to watch to see how he recovers guard. But as a just a viewer, as a casual, it's not interesting. And although I'm not a casual, I like casual things, so I like to see exciting
Action.
exciting jiu-jitsu. Yeah, I like to see constant movement.
The final sequence was nice, though. Margali hits a nice single leg takedown, takes his back, gets under the chin, and at the moment of submission, Brandon McCaffrey, one of the commentators, yells, "Pena quit!" Which is like...
He did quit.
Maybe he's like, raise his chin, like...
He did quit.
Something like that.
He did quit. He totally quit. The choke was not in. It was one hand. He had one hand across, like, to his shoulder, and it was not a choke.
And down by like 10 points.
Yeah,
or more.
he was way
-7.
down because of stalling. I think maybe he's a sore loser. He might just be a sore loser. Doesn't look good for him after he quit with the Gordon Ryan fight. Like, Gordon didn't get a submission when they fought, but the conditions for that match were kind of ridiculous, though. Like, unlimited time until somebody gets a submission. He did submit,
It's tough.
but it wasn't.
It wasn't satisfying.
It wasn't satisfying because there was no submission. Ryan was, I think, on his back, or I think it might have been in guard, in half guard. Like, there was no submission. But with this one, he had his back taken, and I think the submission was probably coming, but before the submission happened, he tapped, which, I don't know, didn't look good for Pena. I want to be a fan of his because of all the great things that he's achieved, but
a lot of accolades.
I didn't like to see that.
Yeah,
I didn't like that moment to end. And you're the headliner. I think maybe, I don't know if he was tired or he just was upset about the rule set. Maybe they weren't. I think everybody was kind of surprised by how aggressively penalties were being given out.
It was a common theme. They look at that like, what?
Yeah, I think nobody really, when they were probably told ahead that you're gonna get penalties for stalling, but nobody knew what stalling was. But that ref knew. Like,
He was very fast.
I loved it though. I hope that guy refs more of these. I would like to see another one of these with the same rule set to see how guys, when they're prepared for this rule set, how they go and how fast paced they are. I would imagine you'd have to
get like Cody Steele and Mika Galvao, guys like that.
Yeah.
They're not getting penalties.
Yeah. Like more of that.
Yeah.
The Rotola brothers, they would be good. They're pretty high action.
Me until I gassed 2 minutes in. First 2 minutes though, I'm not getting stalled.
Yeah. It was good.
I hope that ref's not my ref for my match tomorrow.
Yeah. How do you feel? How do you feel about tomorrow?
Feel all right. Take it easy today. Body feels healthy. Strategy intact. Beaulieu, I suggest you hit me with a blast double leg and bypass my guard, because if you enter my guard, you're a dead man. And if you try to take not such good wrestling shots, you don't know this, man. Maybe nobody knows this. I was a varsity wrestler in high school. I have good wrestling defense. And I've been working my guillotine, been working my anaconda choke, been working my sumigashi. And if those don't work, my rubber guard's the best in the island, and you're a dead man. Tune in. We'll be posting links of how to watch. I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
You know what time? What time does the event start?
The good matches start at 2 p.m. local time.
Taipei time?
Taipei time. And my match will be 3:40, supposedly.
It'll be exciting.
It's going to be exciting. You excited? You gonna put money? Bet money?
Where can I bet?
If you want to bet money, message Tahric.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, I wish there was gambling rings. I was trying to explain this to someone, how it's a good system, the gambling in Thailand for Muay Thai fights, because money's moving, money's changing, somebody's making money off you. And then after the match, especially kids do this, after their match, they walk through the crowd, and if you made money on them, you put money in their mouth. You give them a percent, you know? You make 6,000, say, you give them 2,000, say thank you.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So the kids are just walking around with a mouthful of money.
Oh, so the winner...
Gloves still on.
Nice. Okay,
Yeah.
so the winner gets a bonus.
Yeah.
That's the win bonus.
Yeah,
Nice.
not taxed.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so I wish there's some situation like that going on tomorrow.
Shove some money in Marshall's mouth.
Yeah, why not? Be awesome. If I do a good job. If it's a snooze fest, you don't give Filipe Pena money.
Yeah.
You know, I'll do my best.
Cool.
Yeah. We all done? Anything else we have to say?
I'm good. We're good.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Taipei BJJ. Got a match tomorrow. Teaching Jiu-Jitsu in Taipei, January 6th. January 6th, a day that's not known for anything besides doing Jiu-Jitsu with Marshall Stamper. So you should come out, send me a message if you're interested. And anything else? We're promoting stuff?
I have nothing to promote.
Nothing to promote? Coming soon. He'll have stuff to promote. We're working on it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.